The following text is from a comment I left on a YouTube channel, and it had been something I've been thinking about anyway, so I decided to capture it, edit it a little bit, and present it here. This is a bit of an esoteric topic, and in trying to discuss this, I'm tempted to go off on a zillion different tangents and make this too long of a video, so I'm going to try to avoid that. But right off the bat, I got to go on a tangent about Siddhis. I probably should have just avoided the term. Siddhis are abilities. It's sort of a Hindu Sanskrit type word, where and it has different meanings to different sects. The Indians will tell you that you'll never have siddhis unless you do this and that and the other thing. You master all your yogas, and well, not all your yogas, but you're a master of yogas, and you have a vegetarian diet, and live a low karma life. But it's basically action reaction type thing. Don't let anybody put in your head, what is or isn't a requirement for gaining a psychic gift or a physical gift or any of these kind of powers. And I don't have any of these powers. I really can't say that I've got any profound siddhis. And in the Hindu sense, there's like 8 siddhis, and they're talking about really strong ones. In a more general Western type sense, it's any kind of ability, paranormal ability, psychic, be it psychic, mental, or whatever, being able to do magic, true illusions. The classic siddhis include stuff like levitation, basically weight control, being able to make yourself extremely heavy or light to the point where you can float. Teleportation, there's just a whole host. There's like 8 primary siddhis, and the favorite 8 vary from sect to sect, so I'm not going to get into all that too deep. Use siddhis if you want to learn more, use siddhis as a search term in YouTube, and you'll find all kinds of stuff on it. This one was pretty good. I was looking at some videos late one night, and I came across a subject that of course I'm looking at stuff I've been thinking about anyway, And Tobias Flowers is really good at titles, he's good at making titles that really catch people's attention and good thumbnails, I could learn a lot from the quality of his videos, even if I don't always agree with him, I'm not universally a Tobias Flowers fan, but I do think there's some gold in some of his videos, there's some real nuggets of truth in some of his videos. So he's definitely one worth watching. Anyway, I was rewatching some old because the clickbait was luring me in, and it was resonating with some things I've been thinking about. And in one of the videos, I glean over some of the comments. To me, YouTube without comments is silly. That's what I do YouTube for, really. Anyway, one comment, someone had put a sincere comment in. And it had gone unanswered, for like 6 months. So I thought and it kind of resonated with what I've been thinking about, in the recent weeks. So I thought I'd throw a comment down. And below this paragraph is, what what I've been thinking on the subject. And he had the ability, the questioner or the commenter had stated that he'd been able to access, full access to the Akashic records, and he had other psychic abilities for about a month or so, and real profound. And then he encountered this woman he described as a witch, psychic vampire witch. That's another whole subject, a very important subject. Doctors I dip into it below a little bit, but that could be a whole video in itself. I'm no expert on it, and there's a lot of videos about it, so that might be something to search for too. Anyway, he was wondering how or why he lost his abilities after contact with this person. And my answer below is really simplistic. I'm assuming some real basics here. This answer is very simplified. It's just one aspect. you're not going to be able to do any of this stuff if you've got a big load of karma. Well, that's not really necessarily true, but it certainly won't help. But the big things are externals, and I'm kind of going to the internal here. I'm kind of assuming that this person's dealt with his internal stuff, or you would have never gotten there in the first place. The externals are things like fear. Fear will lock you up more than anything. And that's really the biggest control thing you see going around today in politics and, the conspiracy theorists and stuff like that is fear. Fear and anger and self-doubt, these are things that can really, really be used to control somebody. If someone can make you fear, they can push you into any kind of corner they want to push you into. They can get you to vote for them. They can get you to, really go against your best wishes just out of fear. So those are external controls, and that would be a good subject for another video. I'm kind of neglecting the external things, the fear, the people putting doubts in your head, people putting, deliberately angering you to put you in their control. So those are examples of external controls, and I'm neglecting that in my answer below. Alright, so the next paragraph I get into a little bit about which really is commonly called psychic vampirism, but it's deeper than that. There used to be a story, I had a text file, and it was really good, but basically the text file was called dipper.txt, and this is from the old 8-bit days of BBSing. But it says, everybody has a bucket and a dipper. And then it gave these really good examples of, how in certain circumstances you were using your dipper to steal out of someone else's bucket. Or they were using their dipper to steal out of your bucket. And it was a really clever file, and I wish I could find it. Anyway, we tend to take, getting to this paragraph, we tend to take on a bit of energy of those we interact with. And I told him, I bet in that month where he had these abilities, he was full of bliss in a loving, non-judgmental state. This is something I call the golden heart. Not an original term by me by any means. But I bet he was in that state, where he was really non-judgmental, loving, happy, positive, and really into his teachings, whatever he's into. But then something changed. Maybe it was that person, or maybe it was just your repulsion or judgment to her, or likely both. And then I go into my own case here in brief. And you can see some of my videos if you really want to see more of this, like my losing my religion video. I was in a real positive state then. I'd learned some really heady truths from a religion or a cult or whatever that was really positive in its teachings. But then the doubts and stuff crept in over the years later, and the toils and trials of life. I found out that this author that I'd really liked, who founded this, group, had basically plagiarized, heavily. And I first learned about that group in college, but then I never finished college. I finally had a real girlfriend, but she turned out to have a real wicked side to her, just like probably what he encountered. And this really did change me. It really did set me back spiritually, in a sense, and maybe not in the meta sense, if you want to get to the end of this paragraph. But she turned out to be very worldly and materialistic. She really was down on religion of any sort. She once told me that she'd part my head with an axe if she caught me meditating. And I stopped meditating after that. Even though it was only like a 9-month relationship. She really changed my course for a few years. For a long, probably permanently, really. So that kind of put me in a box for a while, and I stopped meditating and kind of changed my outlook for a while. And my psychic things stopped happening too, pretty much. Mainly, I had several instances where I'd run into people who were great teachers, and I talked about that, that one I have on Darshan. I did a video on Darshan, and here's a teacher I never shared a word with, and it just shows the effects that we have on people, that people have on us without even passing a word, sometimes. It occurs to me the powers of Siddhis are self-limiting, self-protective in that way. When we have negative reactions, prejudices to those we encounter, even that fat smoking slob you see through the car window, just as an example of a negative reaction, we really do have an energetic transaction with them. So, and even a karmic linkage with them. Even though not a word was said, and again, that Darshan video is a strong example of the positive, as much as, sneering at somebody through your car window is a negative one. As long as we hold on to these kind of judgments, you are denied powers, as you would be dangerous to yourself and others, or others and yourself. And that's true, if I was scowling at these people and they had all kinds of psychic power and mental and spiritual power, and I'm throwing these negative boomerangs at them, of course they're boomerangs, they're going to bounce back and hit me, But, so that's the example of hurting myself with it and hurting others. And you really do feel when people sneer at you, You can tell when someone's looking at you from behind even, that's something science doesn't really... There have been studies on it, and it has been proven that it actually is a real effect, whether someone is looking at you or not, when you can't see them looking at you. It's kind of stupid to deny this kind of stuff. And Scientism, that's the negative side of Scientism. On the other hand, I'm strongly against people who are so far out on, and that goes back to the fear and the other type of things. I won't get into all that. But some people really are down on intellectuals, mostly just like the Rush Limbaugh type of thing. And I did a video on this. It came out kind of negative. It was a response to These Eyes God, and I left it as a private video, or I left a link to it from one of my replies to her, so people who had read all the other replies could go to that video and see it. But it really, you have to have a balance in your life between the physical, the emotional, the heart, and the and the mental, and the spirit. I know I'm sort of over biased to the mental, and but we need to really get a balance in all those things if we're going to accomplish anything spiritually or even psychically. So it's the kind of judgments, the kind of negative boomerangs you throw at people, even if they're nonverbal, even if they don't even look at you and you're just looking at them and having those kind of judgments, these powers are denied to you. And in truth, you're not denied so much as wasted, casting your energy about and or snatching up less than positive energy from others. And this is kind of like that dipper and bucket example I was trying to give you. This is why some seekers become hermits to attain, but such have not been tempered and would lose their bliss quickly if forced to live back in the city, interacting with people. So that's a little nugget for you to think about, and there's a lot of things I could go into deeper here. Hopefully someone with the spiritual wisdom, balance, love, heart, to pull such things off, would have the wisdom not to abuse it, not to become dependent upon it. So it's been said that you won't really get these powers till you're wise enough not to use them.